If you're looking for bedtime stories, you're in the wrong place. But if you've got a brain wired for patterns and a gut that knows something's off, pull up a chair and let's analyze this case. There's a place where time seems to slow down, where the mountains rise like ancient sentinels and the trees whisper secrets only the wind can understand. Deep in the hollers of rural Tennessee, a little girl named Summer Moon Utah Wells vanished without a trace on a hot June afternoon, June 15th, 2021. That date is now etched into the collective psyche of true crime sleuths, Southern locals, and a nation still haunted by unanswered questions. She was just 5 years old, blonde, big eyes, barefoot, a child of the hills, wild, spirited, and raised in the kind of rural isolation that doesn't make the news unless tragedy forces it into the spotlight. Her home wasn't picture perfect, but it was the only world she knew. A small, remote property in Rogersville, overgrown, cluttered, and wrapped in a kind of eerie stillness that now feels prophetic. Her family claimed she walked inside after planting flowers with her grandmother, went down to the basement, and was never seen again. No screams, no sounds, just silence, the kind that lingers, the kind that gnaws. The Amber Alert went out. The search was massive. Dogs, drones, divers, helicopters, all combing terrain so thick and wild it might as well have swallowed her whole. But not a single trace, not one shoe, not a torn shirt, not a hair on her head. As the years passed, questions multiplied. Was she taken? Did someone close no more than they said? Or was this another case of a little girl falling through the cracks of a broken backwoods system, abandoned long before she vanished? This is the story of Summer Wells, a girl lost in more ways than one. And as we peel back the layers, we're not just searching for her. We're hunting for the truth buried beneath generations of secrets and shadows, hidden in the underbrush of a rural community. June 15th, 2021. A Tuesday afternoon in the Appalachian Hills. The kind of day that should have ended with fireflies and front porch stillness. But by 6:30 p.m., a 911 call came through from Hawkins County, Tennessee, that would echo across the nation. My daughter is missing. She was planting flowers with her grandmother. She went inside the house and now she's gone.
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers, and I said okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV, and I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back, and within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck. and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen.
Summer Moon Utah Wells, age 5, blonde hair, blue eyes, last seen wearing a pink shirt and gray shorts, barefoot, just like any wild-hearted child of the country. But here's where the mystery starts bleeding into contradiction. According to Candace Bly, Summer's mother, the sequence went something like this. Around 3 p.m., they returned home from an errand run with Grandma and one of Summer's older brothers. Summer helped Grandma plant flowers beside a trailer on the property. Then, Candace said she walked Summer inside, where Summer asked to go play with her toys in the basement. Candace claims she watched Summer walk downstairs, turned around, and within 2 minutes, the child was gone. 2 minutes, and suddenly there was no sign of Summer, and, metaphorically speaking, the cold breeze of winter began passing through. But law enforcement from the start wasn't buying the simplicity of that version of events.
Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, you know, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, you know, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, you know, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, you know, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, you know, out of love, and trying to get information and trying to get her found. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back.
Right away, discrepancies start surfacing. The door to the basement isn't a clean walk-in. It's downstairs through a cluttered, dark entryway, not a place a young child just disappears from without notice. Investigators stated they found no signs of forced entry, no footprints or disturbed ground, and no physical evidence that Summer walked out on her own or was abducted from inside the home. Despite Candace claiming the disappearance happened in minutes, the 911 call wasn't placed until 6:26 p.m. That's a 3-hour window from when they reportedly got home, and in that time, nobody noticed Summer was missing? In early interviews, Candace and Don Wells, Summer's father, seemed rehearsed, like they were reciting a sequence, not recalling it. Later, Candace altered the story's tone in multiple interviews, sometimes emphasizing how fast Summer vanished, other times saying she searched for her for hours before calling 911.
Okay, so you go into the house.
Go in the house.
Can I follow you in, or do you comfortable with that?
Yeah, over there.
Huh?
I don't know why the dogs do. Let's steal the cat food.
Okay. And is this they're gonna attack me?
No.
Oh, I was just I'm teasing you. The dog's gonna attack me.
Yeah, they're harmless.
So this is the
Get out.
the scaffolding you're talking about.
Yeah, that's my yep.
Okay, so she comes up, jumps up, and goes right in.
Yep.
Okay. How many cats? You know what? You should have like a zoo license. You know, I'm seeing all kinds of critters, which is good. Okay, where's Summer's bed?
Oh, it's in the basement.
Got it. Okay. So what happens when she comes in? The boys are playing where?
No, the boys are actually sitting here.
Okay.
And they're actually sitting right here at the table watching TV.
Okay, so they're at the table watching TV.
Down.
Okay.
They were all locked in. Nobody could get in. Nobody could get out.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Now, who's this on up here?
That's my little sister that's missing.
Oh, that's Rose.
That's Rosie.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. And who's the guy?
That's her ex-husband.
Wow. Do you think he had anything to do with that?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to go
I
there.
can't say
How's
yes
your
or no.
mom deal with that?
It's difficult.
Yeah, I know. You know I know, right? So, okay, watching TV, where's Summer?
Summer, she was with me.
Okay, so walk me through that.
All right, well, we walked up in here and we got Josie, Wyatt, and Waylon, the boys.
Right,
Well,
you put the groceries down, right?
Yeah, well, we went back out and then we brought the groceries in and put them down. And then Mom, she took her stuff to her house, put her stuff away.
Okay,
And then, of course, me and Summer went back over, put our stuff away.
okay. You went back in.
Yeah, me and Summer went back in the house. And then we were just doing normal stuff
Okay,
around the house like we normally do. And I come out, Mom was sitting there at the time I come out and I'm standing here. I
okay.
was like, what are you doing? What are you staring at? She's like, these plants, I gotta get them transplanted. I was like, well, Summer will help us, so I went back in. By that time, she was sitting on the floor playing with her toys.
Right here?
No, in the kitchen where we were just at.
Okay.
She was actually sitting on the floor playing with her toys at that time. I said, Summer, you want to help plant flowers? And she jumped up, left her toys a mess, of course. That's cool.
Yeah,
Then we
well,
walked
that's
over
what kids
here.
do. It's their job.
What?
Okay?
We walked over here and we transplanted these cactuses from the little pots that they were in. And transplanted these ones here into this bigger pot and that one into that bigger pot. And then she took the rocks that we've gotten from different gem mines when we went up to Gatlinburg and stuff.
Okay.
And she's the one that spreaded all the rocks around in here. And then she put her puppies in here. She wanted Chase in there, you know. So
Okay.
that was cool.
Where are those puppies now?
What do you mean? What
Oh, the little puppies,
little,
her real
yeah,
ones.
these little.
Oh, yeah, those little guys. Oh, that's
Patrol.
Paw Patrol.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the police one.
Yep, that's Chase. He's always on the case.
Okay. Okay.
And we went
Oh,
in-
I see another one over
Yeah,
here.
she put him in there. Yep, you're on the cactus.
Okay. Don't take those out, okay?
No, I leave them right there.
I know.
And then we went in my mom's. Well, we can't get in there.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
fine. Went in
So
there.
we went in there and got some candy and stuff she gets from grandma.
Okay.
And I said, well, I'm going to go back over to the house. She wanted to go back, so I figured I'd go back, you know.
Okay.
And I brought her, I literally walked over to here. Like, literally walked right to here where I could see the boys and on the kitchen table.
Got him.
And I watched her walk in there. And afterwards, when she was already in there, I walked over like, Wyatt. And he looked at me and I said, watch this, I'll be right back. And that's when I walked back over to my mom's.
Okay.
And I was fixing her brace and stuff like that. And I said, well, Mom, I got to go back over with the kids. And that's when I come back up into the house
Okay.
with the boys.
Okay.
Not Kevin.
You walked into the house.
I walked into here. Get up. Get up. Walked in here and them three were sitting right here, bro, with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, boys, where's your sister at? Well, she just went downstairs, Mom, to play. So I went over here like this. So this is where the stairs are.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her
Down into
bedroom.
our bedroom, and then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now. See?
And then I yelled and I said, Summer, Summer. And she didn't, I listened for a minute, I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this. This is how I would get down here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
Do I got to be tiny to get in there?
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it'd make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh man, good grief,
No, I know
girl.
if my 6-foot husband can fit down here, you can.
Huh?
My husband's 6 foot, I know if he could fit, you can.
This. Oh my gosh. Way to go.
This is my husband's room.
Okay,
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
that's all right.
But this is where Summer and little Waylon was. Because Waylon's only 9.
Okay.
And they stayed down here. And these are all her toys, all her Paw Patrol,
All her movies. She's got a movie about the
The
Savior.
boys I brought back down here after she went missing because I didn't want them upstairs by themselves
Okay.
anymore.
And this is all
And
her toys.
Them are all her toys. All these toys that are down here are dang near all her, except for like the trucks and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the game system. That's the boys'.
Okay.
But them are all her toys.
And she's really into Paw Patrol. I see
Yeah,
that.
I've been collecting from day one. And these are all her little ponies that I've bought. And then these are them girls that she likes. Them new fashion, I don't know what they are, little princesses or whatever. She's like all kinds. Here's one of them bracelets.
Oh, that's just one of them what do they call these? Oh, this is little pony bracelets.
Yeah, I don't know what they were really called, but she liked them, and so I would just, every time I go to the garage sale, I'd buy her what she wanted.
Okay.
You know, whenever I got a little bit of money, I spend it on the kids.
Yeah, this is her, I understand her now.
Yeah.
Even better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is really important.
But yeah, I come down and I searched. I looked up underneath the beds under there. We can't really get on. I can't get under there.
Yeah.
But I looked under there, looked under every blanket I could possibly look under.
Yep.
And then I come over here and I looked on one side and see nowhere. And I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard on it. But I know I did come out here and I said, Summer. Because sometimes she'll sit right here and just sit here and play just for, And usually when she comes out and she goes directly that way up to the swing.
Oh, okay. So this is like her.
Yeah, she
come running out. Yep. Oh, yeah, you can see the path here.
Right to the swing.
Right, you can see where she could have run right up to here.
And this is all the further she would go. She wouldn't leave.
Okay.
She wouldn't go out nowhere else.
Don claimed he believed Summer was abducted, despite TBI stating they had no evidence of abduction and were treating it as a missing child case.
So when her mother come in, she says, "Where's Summer?" She went down in the basement. She didn't answer, so she went down there and she was gone. So she went out the basement door, which was unlocked, and we haven't seen her since. Please, let Summer be okay. Please come home. We're trying to think, beat our brains out. We've covered everything that we can think of already. I just really appreciate everybody trying to help that they have, law enforcement and all these volunteers that are here. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life.
In an audio leak, Don can be heard telling dispatch Summer was abducted right away, even though he wasn't home at the time. How could he know that? Why would he jump to that conclusion? Candace later stated she was watching TV and taking care of her mother and didn't realize Summer was gone until her brothers told her. But there are claims the boys were inside watching YouTube, not actively watching their sister, making the timeline feel even thinner. Grandma, Candace Harrer, was reportedly the last person with Summer before she entered the home. She left town not long after the disappearance and has scarcely spoken with media. Law enforcement has never cleared her publicly.
That's why I come on camera, because I am sick and tired of the lies.
Missing Hawkins County 6-year-old Summer Wells' grandmother, Candace Hare, says it was hard to speak on camera as she's been reliving a familiar nightmare.
Rose has been missing for 12 years. I miss her dearly. She's the baby of the family.
Hare's youngest daughter and Summer's aunt, Rosemarie Bly, went missing from Wisconsin on August 21st of 2009.
To go through it again with my granddaughter, Summer, is very heartbreaking. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is what a parent goes through, what a grandmother goes through. It's the not knowing is what tears us up. It's the not knowing.
The TBI issued an Amber Alert within hours, but the initial statement was unusually vague, only saying she was last seen outside her home and possibly barefoot. Within 24 hours, search crews were crawling the property with dogs, drones, and boots on the ground. Notably, the scent dogs lost the trail near the road, suggesting if she was taken, it was by vehicle. But again, there were no camera sightings, no tire marks, nothing. So what we're left with is a fractured story, a chaotic household, and a little girl who vanished into the wind, while the people closest to her gave stories that don't quite align.
So our specialized teams, as I spoke on, the USAR, the dive teams, as both Sheriff Ray Lawson and Leslie spoke, we are pursuing every avenue. We're covering every ground cover. We're covering every aspect. At the end of it, if we don't cover it, we have to cover everything 100%. We're utilizing them just to clear waterways, areas that we can't put our normal people into, the canines, stuff that aerial cannot see that well. We want to get in there, flip every rock, check every crevice, check every spot, just to make sure we don't miss a spot.
Are there a lot of streams back in this area or ponds?
Yes.
Can you give us, I know we can kind of see some of the lush vegetation and what's happening in the sky, but what's it like back there for you all?
Yes, there are numerous streams and creeks that run back out of the mountains on both sides of Beach Creek Road, along with Beach Creek itself. And there are lots of ponds, holding spots for livestock and other things that we feel are just as important as the rest of the search efforts.
Sheriff, I have a question for you as far as the investigation goes. I know you probably can't comment on a whole lot. Are you able to say if you've executed any search warrants during this time?
Actually, we've done a tremendous amount of searches, and every one has been a consent search. The community has really stood out. They want to help. They want to give advice. They want to give information. And we've not had to obtain not one search warrant. And it's due part that everybody in the community is wanting to find Summer.
And Leslie, I know you talked about credible tips. Can you kind of go into what is a credible tip?
If you have information about Summer, if you saw Summer the day she went missing, anything like that, if you captured a photo on a trail camera or surveillance camera, that's a credible tip. Anything that would assist us. Something you see on social media that you know is somebody's opinion or just speculation, that's not a credible tip. And in fact, that just bogs law enforcement down by having us, we have to go through and check that information and then mark it off. So please, credible tips. We welcome information, but just don't share speculation and rumors that you see on social media.
I have a question. I'm kind of reluctant to ask it, but is there a point in this search when you all will come to the conclusion that this is not a lost child anymore? This is possibly a blessing? Is there a amount of time or amount of territory?
Well, at this time, the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance are very much under investigation. So currently, it's an active and ongoing investigation. We're not going to stop until we determine what happened to her, and we're just taking it one day at a time.
What has the interaction been like with the child's parents? I know that they've spoken with us on adult radio about interactions with law enforcement, scheduling, polygraphing, and so forth. Can you speak to us a little bit about the interaction with the parents and how that helps or not helps with the investigation?
All I can say in that aspect is that they're currently cooperating.
When we also spoke with Mr. Ross, you mentioned something being followed up on sex offenders as well as necessary drugs. Can you confirm those details? What's happening?
I cannot. I can just tell you that any information we have, any lead that comes in, we're going to follow up on that, and all avenues are being explored.
How are crews feeling right now? Again, back to Captain Coop and Sheriff Lawson. How are they handling this right now, especially with we've kind of seen an increase in temperature outside?
So, as stated before, the outpouring of community and businesses in this area, they are very limited on the time. Once they get certain areas of covered, they are being required to come back to the command post and staging area to rehab. Plenty of water, Powerade, Gatorade, food, protein bars, stuff to keep them hydrated and nourished during this whole entire time. And as one stated before I left, they are also 100% involved. They said we will not stop.
As far as the law enforcement aspect, well, you know, we have the TBI system in my office and the FBI, and it's a partnership and a joint operation where if somebody comes in with a tip, just whichever agent standing there, whichever officer, whether it's mine, one of the TBI or FBI agents, they jump on it. It doesn't matter who solves the case, whatever. We just want to find Summer. That's first and foremost.
In that first week, over 120-plus personnel from multiple agencies scour the surrounding terrain. Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson tells press the terrain is treacherous, hard to navigate, and no evidence of an abduction has been found. On June 16th, TBI issues a statement. Circumstances surrounding Summer's disappearance remain unclear. That's an unusually vague stance. like they're already suspecting more than what's being said. June 18th, a brief appearance from Don Wells, where he tells media he believes someone came and snatched her. He insists Summer wouldn't wander off and describes her as playful, loving, and trusting of everyone.
We're coming up on night 6 in the search for Summer Wells. Search teams today asking for reinforcements with a statewide call that is, to the Tennessee Association of Rescue Squads. Today we've seen teams from the Gatlinburg area here to help, as well as crews from not too far away in Greenville, Tennessee. The search continues, but so does the investigation into what happened to 5-year-old Summer. While what happened to her is still a mystery, I spoke with Summer's father on Friday, who said he believes she was taken. He said he's also facing some accusations, but he said the fact of the matter is he just wants his little girl found. He told us the police have to rule out all suspects, including himself.
Well, I think that they have to do that. They can't rule out anybody. I mean, it's their job is to rule out everybody. They're just doing their job, what they got to do, and everybody welcomes them to do their job, you know, for sure. We really appreciate what they've done.
The TBI reported today that since Tuesday, nearly 70 agencies from across Tennessee, as well as other states, have joined in the search for Summer. We're told crews do plan to wrap up the search tonight at 8 p.m. However, if there are any tips or leads, they will continue to search into the night as they did last night.
The Wells family lived in a remote area with steep wooded terrain and only a handful of nearby homes. Some neighbors said they rarely saw Summer at all, noting that the kids seemed kept to themselves or not very social. Others described the house as cluttered, chaotic, and unsafe, with concerns about neglect. One neighbor reported hearing a scream on the day Summer went missing. He claimed it was a sound that didn't seem natural, but law enforcement said they couldn't corroborate it. Still, it cast doubt on the "she walked away quietly" theory.
The Wells family lives across the street from a neighboring property. On mirroring mountains, together they can be described as sentinels which sit high over Ben Hill Road. The night Summer went missing, the neighbor swears that she and her 2 children heard a scream shortly before they joined the search for a now missing Summer Wells.
It's there, but you want to forget.
On the watch and hypervigilant. That's how Jody Sue Brown was the very day Summer Wells went missing.
There was no TV, no noise at all.
Jody Sue was in her cabin with her teenage kids, 19 and 14, waiting for anything.
We were kind of hyper alert because of property things that had happened the day before. So we were listening for noise. Everything was kind of quiet.
The sale brought a plethora of people to their door, confused about which piece of land was for sale, leading to a dispute of property lines.
While we were out at one point doing survey lines, and there was a flash of a car that went up Candace and Donnie's driveway, something about it struck me wrong.
She and her family next heard a truck door slamming and dismissed it as their neighbors. The next sound was harder to justify. About an hour and a half before Summer is thought to go missing, Jody Sue, her son, and her daughter heard something far more suspicious. A scream.
It stopped all 3 of us cold.
Her daughter was the first to go to the cabin door. Then all 3 were there, listening still.
We heard just this kind of shrill, almost animalistic scream.
Animalistic, but not an animal.
Knew it was, wrong. It wasn't a dog, it wasn't an animal.
That vigilance kicking into overdrive. Jody Sue and her son went out to look for the source of the scream.
My son and I decided to go out, look and see what we could see. We went back onto the bank, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything.
They went on with their evening. The kids returned to being kids. Jody Sue headed down her driveway around 6 to tend to flowers.
And at this point, I start hearing Candace hollering for Summer. And then my brain immediately went, scream earlier, this, uh-oh.
Jody Sue was the first to hear those calls and the first to join the search for Summer.
I dropped my purse. I tried to yell up at Candace. I was like, I'm looking, and I started looking.
Jody Sue searched one side of a creek, Summer's brothers the opposite side.
And you gave statements to the police, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Jody Sue had been interviewed many times by investigators, bringing up the scream often. But the sheriff doesn't believe the scream is related to the disappearance of Summer Wells.
She's been interviewed numerous times by not only my agency, but the TBI and the FBI, and we don't find anything with that complaint or information related to this case.
Jody Sue wishes she could go back to just a short time before Summer disappeared and before the scream she believes was Summer.
I wish every day that when I heard that scream, I hadn't tried to dismiss it.
Referencing the work of the FBI, TBI, and his own deputies, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson reiterated in an interview the same week as Jody Sue's that investigators have found absolutely no proof that an abduction has taken place.
Locals described Don and Candace as volatile, heavy drinkers, and the home as one where CPS had already been involved. Several community members reported that Summer had been seen unsupervised before, barefoot and wandering. A few neighbors claimed they were not questioned by law enforcement right away, fueling theories that police overly trusted the parents' version of events in the early hours. Footage later surfaced of Summer swimming earlier that day with Candace, Grandma, and a teenage boy. In it, Summer appears pale, limp, and weak, causing viewers to speculate. Was she already unwell or injured before she ever got home? That teenage boy was the son of a former family friend named Hunter. He recounted the events of that day to Chris McDonough of the interview room.
So you're watching her, she's underwater or goes underwater. Did you see her go underwater?
No, I didn't see her go underwater because she was showing me a TikTok that she done with the dogs and the dirt bikes.
Got it. Candace was.
Yeah.
So your focus was on the TikTok
For a second there, but then when I turned my eye that way, I just seen that. I don't know how long she could have been under there for, but I just seen her under the water and I didn't see her come back up, so kind of shook me. So I was gonna go see if she was okay.
So you went in?
Yeah.
Okay. You went in to rescue her.
It could have been longer, it could have been shorter. She could have just went under there at that point. Like,
right.
I don't know.
So you went in to rescue her?
See if she was okay, yeah.
And did you get her out?
Yeah, I got her out.
Okay.
And then not even like 15 minutes later, we went to grab that prescription that she needed.
Okay. How was she when she got out? Did she walk back to the car?
Yeah, she would walk back to the car.
She seemed normal?
She just seemed perfectly fine.
Okay. She seemed like Summer?
Yeah.
He asserts that Summer seemed to be fine when he'd seen her last, suggesting that observers had misinterpreted that last photo.
Did it seem like there was anything wrong with her being under that water?
Not really, but you got to think as a little kid swimming, it can tire you out easily.
True.
So I don't know if she could have been sleeping when they dropped me off because I thought she was awake.
Who goes into the store?
Her and her mother again.
Okay, so Candace and her mom go in the store again. And that left you and Summer in the car.
Yeah.
And what are you guys doing?
Just still watching TikToks, listening to music. I mean, just sitting there watching TikToks mainly.
Is she lethargic? Do you notice anything unusual about her?
I didn't know. I just seen that her hair was cut. That was it.
Yeah, but when did you notice that, right?
That was like when we first saw her.
Right, when you first, right. I mean, but at that moment, are you noticing anything unusual going down?
Not really.
Okay, when you say not really, what does that mean?
Like, not in general, no.
Yeah, the dog. Say it again.
I said not in general, no. Like, nothing really, but nothing's going on.
Okay. And then what happens from there?
From there, I think they was in the store for an hour, maybe?
Okay. They were in the store for a long time?
Yeah, a little bit long, but not that long.
And what did they get?
So they got groceries for the house. I don't know what all they got. All I seen was what was beside of us, the milks. Did she even get out the car or did I? Was you? I thought she got out the car too. I don't remember that.
Okay. At some point, how did the milk bottles get on the other side of her? Do you know?
I have no idea then because she said that she was sleeping on the door But when I got out the car, she wasn't even at the door. She was in the middle.
Was she sleeping on you?
Nah.
Was she asleep?
I didn't even see her asleep. I just got out the car because she wanted to talk to her.
Okay. Got it.
About that thing for that Friday, the water park.
Got it. But where's Summer?
She was still in the middle. I wasn't really paying attention to her, to be honest.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
I wasn't even paying attention at that point. I just wanted to go inside. Or just wanted my girl to come over for a little bit. That's
Sure.
the whole point.
Is Summer hurt by this point, you think? From the water?
I mean, she could have been. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to her.
No, I get that. Then what happens when you get out of the car?
When I get out the car? When I get out the car, I go to the front because she had to hand me that other vape that she gave me.
Got it.
And then I showed Mom at that door.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay. And this is when you saw Summer in the back. How did the milk get rearranged?
I have no idea. I mean, I could have said I'm there when I got out the car.
That's fine.
But I'm telling you now, I really don't remember anything but talking to her.
Got it.
At that point.
No problem. What do you think, Miss Allison? How's that milk get rearranged?
I don't know. That milk was there when they pulled up like that.
Okay, but Hunter had the milk in the middle.
In the middle.
And so now the milk's on the other side of Summer. How does that happen?
I don't know.
I don't either, and that's why I'm asking.
I don't even remember how I got out the car. That's the funny part.
That's fine. That's fine.
I thought I was totally sitting in the middle the entire time, but I guess not.
Now, did Candace then, let's fast forward. We'll come back to that later. There's going to be a lot of questions about that, though. I'll give you a heads up, okay? A lot of folks are going to ask about, well, how'd that happen, okay? Yeah. So I'm just giving you, a heads up on that, okay? Just so you know, okay?
I got you.
Now, straight up, though, from there now, you're here. When's the next time Candace contacts you?
Around 7:30 that day.
That night. And where were you at that time?
I was over at the park in Bristol with my girl.
Hanging out with your girlfriend?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and what happens? Tell me about that.
So she called me saying that Summer's missing.
Okay.
I thought she's pulling a leg because she's known to do that.
Okay, why would she mess around with her daughter missing, though? What struck you about that?
I mean, it's just, we explain how she does when she gets drunk. She tends to, when she gets drunk and high at the same time.
Yep.
She tends to think that she loses the kids, but they're out front in the yard. That's what I was thinking.
Got it. What did she tell you?
She was like, Summer's missing. So I was just like, okay, well, why don't you just go look outside? She says, I have been, she ain't there. I said, well, call Allie then, because I don't know if she's still pulling a leg. Because if I tell her to call Allie, she'll call me back. And then I'll call Mom, be like, did she tell you this? Or was she just messing around?
Got it. So you call your mom?
Yeah, I call her on Facebook after she picks up.
And gave her a heads up that
Candace was gonna call.
Candace gonna call her and tell her that Summer's missing.
The pastor at the Kingsport Seventh-day Adventist Church told me yesterday that the Wells family, as well as several church members, have received what he called hateful messages on social media. He says the church is banding together to support the family while Summer remains missing.
We know each other fairly well, and for someone like Summer Wells to be, in the father's opinion, to be abducted like that is just heartbreaking. We're hoping that there's miraculous intervention.
A church of less than 200 people, Pastor David Ryder refers to his congregation as a family. So for one of his flock to disappear, he says his family is drawing near.
A lot of the help that they need is that type of emotional support, having the prayer vigils. And you can imagine the kind of ups and downs that they're going through. And they have some of these, just to be able to pick the phone up and text and have a response, or pick the phone up and call and have a response.
He says the family is struggling to cope.
They're already going through a horrible time. Can you imagine? That's the most horrible thing that could happen to a person is to have their child abducted. You know, and they're going through this, and this is the depression and the shock and not knowing. Is she safe? Is she being harmed? What's happening to her? You know, it's very difficult for the parents.
Summer's Sabbath school teacher, Robin Lane, tells me she's in constant contact with Candace Bly, Summer's mom.
She looked like she was really hurting, and I just offered her a word of encouragement. And I have told her this from the beginning, that with each day that passes, I get more and more hopeful. I'm not just saying that because I want to be a positive, uplifting person. People think I'm a real positive person. I'm a realistic person as well. I believe in miracles, and I do believe that God is going to reveal where she is. I believe she will be delivered.
The church members I spoke with asked the public to pray for the Wells family and pray for the safe return of 5-year-old Summer Wells.
It's sporadic. I mean, one day you might get 5 leads, the next couple of days you might not get anything. But it's been an active investigation that I've been devoted to since it first occurred.
As Summer's disappearance approaches the 10-month mark, the scenarios of what happened the night of June 15th continue to grow.
The wandering away, sneaking off to go play or whatever she may have done, that is a viable option.
The night she went missing, authorities said she walked away from her house. The following day, an Amber Alert was issued.
People are probably tired of hearing this. All possibilities are on the table. We're not completely eliminating the abduction idea, but there's nothing to lead us to believe that we need to focus on that alone.
In the height of the search, those on the ground combed through miles of tough, rugged terrain, leaving many to wonder how there was no trace of little Summer.
She was like 3 foot, 40 pounds. It would be a lot easier for her to get through some of the foliage. And she's lower to the ground, smaller body, a lot more flexible.
Along with the ground search, Pruitt says investigators have poured through data.
We have gone through reams and reams of data. We've collected statements. We've chased down every credible lead that has been given to us. And we are still not much further along than when we started. Surveillance videos, GPS locations, cell phone tracking, cell phone data, electronic data, anything that we could think of to get our hands on.
As time continues to pass since that June day, it's increasingly hard to hold on to hope.
Well, we're 9 months in. I would hope that she is still alive somewhere, but we also have to be open to the idea that that is no longer a possibility.
When Summer disappeared, the first wave of online interest was typical. Amber Alert shares missing posters, local news clips circulating. But in those initial days, the case had gone viral, not because of official statements or compelling leads, but because something about the story didn't sit right. And when that happens, the algorithm gods open the floodgates. What began as concern mutated into content. Creators, many of whom had no investigative background, started analyzing. The Wells family Facebook posts, body language, and interviews alleged leaked audio and call logs, the terrain around Ben Hill Road using Google Maps, even photos of the house interiors and clutter pieced together from social media uploads. Some of it was helpful, much of it was reckless, and all of it fueled the storm. By July, the Wells family became public targets. Candace was accused of lying, being intoxicated, or even harming Summer herself. Don's criminal past surfaced, including domestic violence, DUI, and abuse allegations from his stepsister starting around the age that Summer was when she disappeared.
Jeannie, you've already given all of this information right when Summer went missing to TBI. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. You called them and gave them all this information. So they've had it for how many months now?
It must have been 2 months, I guess.
Okay.
It's like the second day after she went missing is when I called.
So day number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So folks, this is about Summer Wells. This brave woman who is here with us tonight, while discovering some victimology on Summer, we also discovered that past behavior that might impact Summer. And that is a history of SA in the family. Since, how old were you, Jeannie? When did this actually start?
Well, from my memory, it was about five years old. My mom married Donnie's dad. They bought a house in Roy. And that's kind of where everything started for me, from my remembering. Everything was when we moved to that house.
And what's the age difference when you're 5, if you remember?
He'd be 12, about 12, I think, 12, 13. He would always tell me, you know, at some point, I started to ask him, I'm like, why do we got to play this game? Like, I don't like it. And, you know, so I think he got to the point where I was getting concerned about it. So that's when he started telling me, you can't tell anybody. And I asked him, well, why not? And he says, well, if you tell, then I'll die. And, you know, and then it progressed to not only would he die, but everybody in the family would die. And so, you know, I didn't want him to die. I didn't want anybody to die. So that's where that went.
And at this point, you're 5, and how long does it, about how many times would he try and come in and assault you once you guys moved into the house?
When I was about 6, well, it was more 6 to 7 is when he started the more aggressive abuse. Coming into my room.
And he's 13 at this point.
Yeah, 13, 14 by then. Mm-hmm.
And this is the time also that Mary reports that he and 2 other boys tried to physically rape her. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And they actually wanted to file charges on him, but your stepdad kind of pulled that back. Is that correct?
Yeah. She actually filed charges. She went and did a statement. But my dad, you know, made her go drop the charges. So then it just started where he was coming into my room at night instead of doing this more during the day. It was more at night. And he was getting more aggressive in the stuff he would do to me. It just, you know, it was awful. You know, I would try to do things like wear several pairs of pants to bed. You know, I remember I tried to put up a booby trap one time, and I strung some yarn across the door and I put soda cans on it, you know, so that I could at least wake up, or in hopes that maybe he would wake up some of the other family members. And at this time, I had the room was just mine, because I think Mary went and stayed with our biological dad for a little bit. And so I was just in the room for most of the time, unless somebody came to stay or whatever, by myself. It was every night, practically. I remember that.
Let's walk through 9 and 10 now, if you remember.
Well, pretty much just from the time I was 6 or 7 up until he went to prison that first time, it was pretty much all the same routine. Well, and the reason that I wanted to do this interview, and initially me coming forward, was just in hope, that to find Summer. And I never got to meet her, but she's still my niece, and she's still a 5-year-old little girl that was living under the roof with somebody who I believe is fully capable of foul play.
In November 2021, 5 months after Summer vanished, Dawn and Candace agreed to appear on the Dr. Phil show, allegedly to raise awareness for Summer's case. But from the moment the cameras rolled, it became clear. They weren't there for awareness. They were there to control the narrative, and failed. Dr. Phil didn't interview them solo. He brought in the behavior panel, a group of 4 former federal interrogators and body language experts: Greg Hartley, Scott Rouse, Chase, Hughes, Mark Bowden. These men had analyzed terrorists, murderers, and cartel leaders, and now they were watching Candace. What followed was one of the most bizarre televised interviews in recent memory. Candace appeared distracted, dissociative, and at times completely shut down. She wore sunglasses indoors, often avoiding eye contact. Her answers were delayed, confused, or contradictory. When asked about what happened the day Summer disappeared, she struggled to give a coherent timeline. But the moment that broke the internet was when one panelist asked, "Do you think someone sold Summer?" Candace froze. Her face changed, and then she broke down, but not in the way a grieving mother would. The panel noted her expression as one of fear-based panic, not sadness, as if someone had said the exact phrase she wasn't supposed to hear out loud. Dr. Phil himself later said, "That was the first time she actually reacted."
If it wasn't you, then who would be the next most likely candidate?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Would it be someone, a stranger? Would it be somebody you know?
I don't know anybody that would have did it. It had to be a stranger.
Is there anybody you knew that has disappeared since this happened?
No.
That, they were around and then this happened and all of a sudden they kind of moved away or they've gone away somewhere?
Nobody that I know of.
The only people that I know is the people I work with on a daily basis, and that's the only ones I've ever hung out with. I work all the time, and when I am home, I'm with my kids and her.
Is there anybody that you've had dealings with that are shady that would do something revenge-wise just to get back at you, to hurt you, that you owe money or that you had illicit dealings with in some way? We know that you've had some conflict with the law concerning drugs and different things. Is there anybody that you've gotten sideways with?
I've fired a lot of guys for being on meth. And the last guy I fired a day before, I'm pretty sure, I can't prove it, but it was way out there, and I fired him, and the very next day my daughter disappeared. And the law, TBI's been talking to him, and he's got an alibi where he was.
Is there anybody that he's been involved with that you think might be trying to get even with y'all by taking your daughter?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there anybody that might be trying to get even with you, that would try to hurt you by taking your daughter?
I can't think of anybody.
The Wells' unwillingness to consider and further discuss these other scenarios made it all the more suspicious that Candace may know a bit more than she was letting on.
Nobody in the drug culture, nobody owed money, nobody...
Oh.
In our area, there's people that, you got these boys and then you got these boys that they're very prideful about, kind of like, I guess, L.A., you got the Bloods and the Crips. Well, these are hillbillies. I don't know. But we don't associate with them. We don't socialize with them. We try to socialize with our church. We try to keep our kids in that church. That's our main goal. We try to stay completely far away from that kind of activity as possible.
Well, but you haven't always.
Right.
When you guys sat down with Scott and Greg, they asked you about organized crime in the area.
Right.
Because we know that there's trafficking that goes on.
Yeah.
People take children, and I hate to even say this because it's such a horrible thing to think about, but they take children and they sell them. They sell them into all different kinds of different lives, whether it's sex trade, slave trade, different things. That happens here in LA, it happens there. And they ask you about organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
When Scott asked you about the Cornbread Mafia, you got very upset when he asked you about that. Why did that upset you so much?
Because I don't even know what that is.
I'm sorry?
I've never even heard of it. I don't even know what it is.
And why would it upset you so much?
Because it sounds horrible.
Just thinking, her in her mind, feeling like she's being interrogated bothers her because she loves her daughter with all her heart. She spent a lot of quality time with her every day, thank God. She took a lot of pictures.
Well, why don't you let her answer?
Okay, yes, sir.
Because that's not interrogating you. It's we're trying to help you find your daughter. I started this out by saying, I don't think you hurt your daughter. I'm standing up for you. I'm saying, I don't think you hurt your daughter. But I'm going to look under every rock. I'm going to go down every trail. I'm going to investigate everything. And if you want to find her, you would be right there beside me saying, right, Doc, let's turn this rock over. Let's ask this person. Let's consider this. It doesn't make sense to me that, I mean, you got up and left the interview when he asked you about that, and I didn't understand that. You want to find your daughter, obviously.
Yes.
And it puzzles me that you get so upset about that. And, you know, one theory is guilty knowledge, that you may know something you don't even know you know. You may be afraid of something that is so horrible you don't even want to think about it. And so you push it down and don't even want to think about it. But I want you to think about it. I want you to be willing to consider every possibility, because it's only when you think about the darkest possibilities that we can find answers. And the Cornbread Mafia, Scott, define that for us.
Sort of an organized crime syndicate in the South. It runs from Tennessee to Georgia. It's widespread.
Mm-hmm.
And some parts are thicker than others, but overall, it's there.
Yeah. And it's kind of a homegrown. This isn't out of New York or Miami or Chicago. This is a local syndicated mafia. There's a lot of meth trafficking in it. There's a lot of all sorts of things.
Yes, sir.
And there are a lot of meth labs in that area. And this is all organized. These aren't independent.
Correct.
It's even harder to penetrate because everybody knows everybody.
Right.
That's
And there is trafficking involved in that part of the country, like every other part of the country. And so one of the theories is that someone abducted her in that regard. And I don't know that. I'm just saying you have to consider that. Somebody took her for some reason.
That's been one of my theories, because there's been a lot of people coming up to our house and just taking whatever at night. They come up, they knew where we were one day, and they took all the tools out of my shed. And that's been one of my theories, is someone local that's been watching us. And then the other theory is a more professional type mafia or whatever. I don't know, but that's always been one of my theories. But I never heard about no cornbread mafia.
After this primetime television appearance, YouTubers staked out the Wells property Some trespassed to film the home. Witnesses came forward only to recant or contradict themselves. Later, phone records, social media screenshots, and even distant relatives were dissected online. The line between advocacy and exploitation was obliterated. One creator even called the family too redneck to tell the truth. Another claimed Summer was sold, but without offering any evidence, but it spread like fire.
Yeah, there's always going to be haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world, and we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts, and that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors, because we just try to be around good people. And we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
the most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can, and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around. Ever.
By late July, Candace deleted most of her social media. She stopped cooperating with many YouTubers and refused to engage with most of the online world. This fueled even more speculation. Why won't she speak? What is she hiding? Is she being silenced or protecting someone? Don, however, did the opposite. He went on live streams, ranted about Satanism, spoke about sacrifices, and made offhanded statements that raised red flags.
she could be being tormented every day, tortured every day. She could be locked in a basement with chains. She could be going the rounds with drug dealers. There's all kinds of things, but there is a small bit of hope that she could be with possibly someone who cares about her. We don't know.
At one point he said, "There's so many evil people in this world, and I tried to shelter Summer from all of that." Then added, "I know she's with God now," before she was ever declared dead.
He has interviewed Wells before and saw rumors circulating on social media that the older children had been removed from the home.
I could tell when he answered the phone that he sounded broken to me. He did not sound like the same Don Wells that I spoke to, the week previous. He didn't sound hopeful. He sounded very depressed. And he confirmed that the boys were in fact taken a couple days prior.
In the almost 10-minute phone interview, Wells explained how the theories and speculation about what happened to his daughter are affecting him.
They come to me and said I had somebody, either posing or said they had the inside scoop with TBI and that they knew that I sold my daughter for drugs. And I flipped out. I believed that stuff like an idiot. I believed it. And I flipped out.
It muddies the waters, not only for the general public, but for law enforcement.
Youngblood says she will keep discussing the case on her show, but wants to be clear that finding Summer and the facts around what happened remain her focus.
Not facts surrounding, any gossip or drama that people have with Candace or with Don at this point. I think that's totally counterproductive. And I think that we need to keep the focus on that there's a 5-year-old little girl that is missing. And also there's 3 boys that are missing their sister.
Although this pair seemed to be cooperating with law enforcement and media in desperation for their daughter's safe return, may have been nothing more than a disguise to cover up a devastating truth. With the rest of their children being taken by Children's Services indefinitely and still no breakthrough in the case, It leaves us with far more questions than answers.
Borden Park is anything but quiet this time of year. But 3 years ago, it was filled almost weekly with people praying for Summer Wells.
I see all these families, you know, with their kids and how much they enjoy them and stuff, and we were stripped away from all our kids. All our kids have been kidnapped from us by DCS, and who knows, we're not sure about Summer, but we know about where our boys are at.
While the prayer vigils are now few and far between, Dawn and Candace Wells haven't stopped praying that their daughter Summer will be found.
We have hope, always. I mean, but there's not much hope in this world. It's you know, we have to trust God that there's hope in eternal life in heaven.
Summer was reported missing on June the 15th of 2021.
We know that she was taken off our property, and we know she was taken away in a vehicle, or they would have found her in the area if she was somewhere in the area. But who's responsible for her? We don't know.
I asked Dawn and Candace when was the last time they heard from investigators.
We haven't lately at all. It's been a while. Over a year, I think. I haven't talked to any law enforcement at all. I tried to talk to the FBI agent about it, but that didn't go anywhere.
Don says he feels that he and his wife Candace were targeted by the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office.
They intimidated us, they belittled us, and done everything they could amidst all the chaos, and then the CPS was there doing the same thing.
When asked about how he thinks about Summer's disappearance 3 years later, Don spoke about a Department of Children's Services investigation.
They said somebody had called and said that we was giving our kids loaded guns to play with, and so they closed the case June 14th, which is something CPS does not do. They don't just close cases. So it's really odd and mystifying why they closed the case June 14th, and then 24 hours later, Summer's gone.
Summer's mother, Candace, sat in for part of our interview, but got up after a few questions.
She was going to try, but her emotions are just too much.
The last update in the Summer Wells case from law enforcement was an age-progressed photo released in June of last year. This image was released by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Summer Wells, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. That number is right there on your screen.
Neighbors, members of their church community, and former family friends had vastly different and varying opinions.
We got close. She was like a sister to me. And those kids meant the world to me. Little Summer still does. Even the boys. It just kills me that she's gone. And, you know,
Candace was dirty, unwashed, and she did let her kids run all over and didn't make them mind.
So, and did that strike you?
Yes, and I did not like her.
Okay. And you're a great grandma, so you have that sense on whether you can tell, right? I mean, knowing, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, when were the highs and when were the lows?
Well, we didn't. She had went to Utah, well, Wisconsin, over the summertime. She came back just before school started for the kids. And we did family things with my kids and her kids.
Right, and your mom?
Out in the Heights. No, my mom had a falling out with her.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And over time it's just started falling apart.
And how much time do you think it took?
A couple months for me to realize.
And what did you realize?
She was using me.
Okay, describe that for me.
Let's see, I put food in her house to feed her kids, and her, and her mom. I've had money come up missing, which I never told anyone.
Okay.
And it's pretty obvious where it went because there's only 3 adults in the house at the time. The rest were kids. Kids can't go down in the store because there's not one that's near. Swear to God.
And where did you think the money was going? What's your gut?
Probably drugs.
Okay. What kind of drugs?
Well, she came out and told me she was a recovering meth addict.
Okay.
So?
You know, she doesn't strike me as having the characteristics of somebody who is obviously under the influence of meth all the time. Sorry? Booze. Does she drink a lot?
Oh, yeah, every night at 5:30.
I'm not saying she didn't do meth. Don't misunderstand me, right? I mean, I don't know.
She never did it for me. She always smoked weed.
Okay. Yeah, who doesn't smoke weed today, though, right?
Me.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, oh, yeah. So we got 4 at the table here. Okay.
And I can't afford it. She drinks every night.
At least Leslie said
She
she's
drinks
on.
a nice sized bottle of R&R.
Okay.
Every night.
Okay.
I mean a nice sized jar.
How about a lot of times in this area, I know there's a big meth problem. What other kind of drugs are on the streets up here? How are pills doing up here?
Yeah.
And what kind of pills?
I don't know. I don't really hear about the pills. I hear about the meth.
Leslie?
Well, you hear pain pills.
Opioids? Like oxy?
That pain patch. They said on the news the other day that it's running rapid here.
Fentanyl?
Yeah, the fentanyl patches.
Yeah. Yeah, well, here in West Virginia, right? I mean, there's a town in West Virginia, I think it's Morganstown, and they had like 22 people OD on fentanyl in a single day.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So, at some point, 3 or 4 months into it, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, your relationship kind of dissolved, but it maintained.
Longer than that.
It was longer than that.
It was the start of the second year.
Yeah. It was about the end of August, early September.
Okay.
And then I really cut ties at the end of September, early October.
In that time, how was she treating the children?
She'd smack them and beat them.
Describe that.
Well, let's see. One time her son wanted a drink. She said no. He threw a fit on the floor, so she went over and wailed his ass.
Is that normal? Would you describe that as a mom, from your mom's position? Would that be out of the norm, or even that raised your eyebrows?
It raised my eyebrows. Like, I don't beat my kids.
Okay. Did you say anything to her?
I said, what'd you hit him for?
Was this an accurate recollection of events, or a bitter retaliation against a former friend?
Because Leslie was there before all this.
So you've known Candace longer?
No.
Oh.
No, I met Candace on her birthday. See, me and her worked together.
Okay.
So I came over for her birthday party. And they had a swimming pool up out back. It's a little swimming pool. And her kids and Candace's kids was playing in the pool. And some of the kids had got out and was eating a snack while we was cooking hamburgers and stuff. And 2 of her boys was in the pool and they was horse playing. And this really, what she done really got to me.
Okay.
I mean, they're kids, they're going to play in the pool.
Right.
They're going to get rough. You know, they're boys.
Right.
And because they got rough, horse playing in the pool, she made them get out. And back here behind the house, there's a driveway. And she made the 2 boys get out of the pool, wet, and lay down, stomach down, on blacktop. It was hot. Really hot.
That left an impression with you.
It left an impression so bad. I looked at her and Allison's mom, Sherry. I said, I do not like this bitch. Straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Allison, I said, this swimming pool is going down. I said, those kids did not deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out, picked the swimming pool up, and dumped it. Turned around and walked back in the house. I did not want to be around her the rest of the evening. I didn't, because if I would have been, honestly, I would have went to jail.
Right.
And you want to ask me how I felt about that? That is abuse. Those children could have got seriously burnt.
Right. No, I agree. I agree that if that ground is just unbelievably hot.
And with them being wet.
Right. Yeah, it's just like oil and water and grease. It just
And
fries
it
them
just-
up. How did she react?
She just laughed.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
Her and her mom both just laughed.
So let's talk about the
The house
day.
was filthy.
Yes.
We tell her that. We tell her that.
The house was nasty.
I didn't go up there because I didn't like her. So I always stay here.
What's your impression of Dawn?
Yeah.
He seemed like an outgoing guy at first. You know, he has his problems.
Like we all do,
Yep.
right?
He loved Summer to death.
Yeah,
That was his pride and joy.
yeah.
That was his pride and joy.
Is he still around? There's a rumor that he's kind of evaporated. Is that true? If you know.
Last time I knew he was on.
Okay. And of course, you know how things are. You know, people don't know unless they're here, right?
He's been acting a little loony on Facebook lately.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And on the his interviews on TV.
Right.
Like, first he started saying stuff about God and how he wanted the people that stole his daughter punished by cruel means, and then he went to saying something about Jezebel, and now everyone has to answer to the prophet. Like, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he has really hurt this family.
By throwing me and my son under the bus. Oh.
Well, you know, people do different things. Penny, for your thoughts, Leslie. Where you at?
Honestly, I think Candace done something to her. Because Candace was jealous of that little baby.
Why though? Why would you?
Because that baby was getting Donnie's attention.
Ah, okay. So it's a pull between dad or the child.
See, and a little dark,
Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
and a little dark secret that no one knows. Candace's mom told me this one. When they found out that they were pregnant with Summer, Candace's mom was supposed to adopt Summer.
Because she was a girl.
Because she was a girl.
Oh, interesting.
She wanted boys. But Donnie,
Wanted a girl,
yeah.
and he got his girl.
Yep.
So let's.
Honestly, I don't feel that Donnie has anything to do with it. I may be wrong.
Was he at work that day? Do you know?
We don't know for sure.
Okay. Does anybody know for sure? Who would I talk to that would know that?
Probably the TBI.
Yeah, I don't want to go to TBI right now. They're doing their own thing, and I don't want to get involved in that piece of it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I don't want to jeopardize any type of information they may have, or
And I mean,
you know, that kind of
honestly,
stuff.
When she would have Summer, even here, and if I was here, I would keep my distance. Because I didn't like the way she done her kids.
Mm.
And everybody's like, call DCS, call DCS. DCS has been called so many times on this woman, it's not even funny. So what the Facebook people don't realize, there has been people try to step in.
No.
She avoids them.
Sure.
Like
sure.
the plague.
Okay. Okay.
She would see them pull in her driveway, she would lock the door and not let them in.
So they're.
I mean, what
And
are
then
we
they would make
supposed to
appointments
do?
with
No,
them
right. I get it.
to come back and do their house check and, you know, the pee test, and they would avoid them.
Another interesting figure who heavily advocated for the Wells was Robin Lane. Robin was Summer Wells's Sunday school teacher at the Seventh-day Adventist Church the family attended in Kingsport, Tennessee. She met Summer when Candace began taking the kids to church in early 2021, reportedly at Don's suggestion. Described Summer as sweet, energetic, and wanting to be with Jesus. Formed a close bond with Summer, one she emphasized repeatedly in interviews. Became one of the most public defenders of the Wells family after Summer vanished. She was heavily featured in multiple interviews, including with the Behavior Panel, where she attempted to humanize Candace and Don.
All right, so I'm Robin Lane. I understand that there's going to be an interview that I did that's going to be online tonight, and this is an interview that I recorded back in July. I don't know what's going to be on it. Honestly, I don't remember exactly what I said in that interview. It was a while ago, and emotions were so high, and there was just so much chaos going on that honestly, I'm not really even sure what I said. And I don't know if it's going to be twisted into a negative light, but I'm praying that maybe there's something on there that I said that can be useful in helping find Summer. That's my hope. But I'm not really an interview person, and I really don't think that there's anything that I have to add to what's already been said. So I'm just really hoping that this is going to be a positive thing tonight, but I just wanted to make sure everyone realizes that this is not something that I just did. This is something that was back in July. And I just wanted to clear up some stuff. First of all, yes, we do own a red truck, a red Tacoma truck. My husband bought it 2 weeks before my dad passed away. So it was about a month ago, less than a month ago, my husband bought this truck. So nobody needs to wonder if this truck is in any way related to the one that is involved in the Summer Wells case, because we just got it. And we would have to be a special kind of stupid to purchase the truck that was the one that the police are looking for. So I can assure you that this is not the truck. But if anyone wants to pull the records and find out, they're more than welcome to find out. It's not exactly secret information. I am definitely not a spokesman for the family, and in several interviews that I have done, I feel like people try to take the words that I say and try to use them as somehow information directly from the family, or make me out to be some kind of representative for the family. And I just want to clear that up right now, that I am not. I'm a human being. I'm a friend. I cherish their friendship. I really do. I'm honored that I was a friend of this family, and I hope that I can continue to be, because I can assure you right now that I don't know anyone that has been more attacked than this family has. I know that a precious little girl is missing, and there's a lot of good intentions that come along with it, but attacking this family has done nothing but hurt the family, and it's not helping Summer. And so I just want to say that I cherish my friendship with them, and I never want to do anything that would hinder that relationship and that friendship. When Summer comes back home, if and when she comes back home, and I pray that she does, I'm hoping that we will be still friends, that we will be unified, that her family will still be together, that her mommy and daddy will still be together, that her brothers will be back at home, and that they can all be together as a family. That's my biggest hope right now, and I want to be a part of that. All right, so all in all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who is out there trying to find Summer and restore this family. That's really ultimately what I think our ultimate goal should be, is just to restore this family. And I'm hoping that she'll be back very soon. I really do have hope. It's not a false hope. It's not just a positive feeling. I really do believe that this little girl is going to come home. And I think that if we can all just get together in prayer and just pray for her, I do think that this miracle could happen. And I think it will happen. So thank you guys.
Robin Lane walks like a lamb, speaks like a dove, but her timing, her presence, her unwavering defense of a family drowning in red flags, that's not innocence. That's alignment. Maybe she's just loyal. Maybe she saw the broken parts and tried to help. But maybe, just maybe, she saw more than she ever admitted. And instead of reporting it, she folded it into scripture. Just like with Jocelyn Smith in South Africa or Oakley Carlson in Washington State. The moment a case hits the public feed, clicks start to outweigh clarity. Summer's case became internet property, and the ones who could speak for her were either silenced by scrutiny or swallowed by their own guilt. The internet wanted a villain or a savior, and in their hunger for either, they ignored the little girl at the center of it all. Summer Moon Utah Wells became a symbol, a flashpoint, and a lost light in the chaos of public speculation. So was she abducted by a stranger? Or was something strange happening within the family that either led to an accidental death, or was something much bigger at play that they were desperately trying to cover up?
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired, you know. I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess, and and all that, like all young girls do. And
she loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa and.
And I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there. And I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church. Or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Our best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
was pretty,
yeah,
beautiful.
She looked up to those kind of women. She, they were the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it, but. She looked up to them. She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money. And there was times, we'd be, at our boys, like, don't do this and don't do that. And next thing you know, a stick would come up and just whop them, and it'd be like, Summer, don't do that.
Summer was the boss of the family.
Yeah,
she
typical girl.
When they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. She loved to run. She just loved to run, and she could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her two hands. And she could do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No, she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's been, we did all the, what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already took on all of her shots and registered in the school ready for this year.
Yeah. I just never expected for anyone to get a hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart. And do anything to have her back.
Your little girl.
If there's any way you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do that. I mean, 'cause you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her and, and us and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home.
The narrative Don Wells clung to from the beginning was that someone took Summer. I think someone came up here and took her, possibly put her in a car and drove her away, he'd proclaimed. What supports this theory is that the dogs lost the scent trail at the end of the driveway. Tracking dogs had also followed Summer's scent to a nearby dirt path, where it abruptly stopped. This could suggest she was carried away or entered a vehicle. Rural terrain means there were very few witnesses. There aren't many homes near 110 Ben Hill Road. If someone was watching, waiting, they'd have the cover of trees and time. Summer was also reportedly very trusting. Don described her as loving and would go to anyone. If a predator knew the family, they could have lured her, especially if she'd met them before. Other children have vanished in similar rural regions. Advocates point to cases like Haley Cummings from Florida and Aliaya Lunsford from West Virginia, where kids vanished from remote areas without a trace. What doesn't add up is that there were no signs of forced entry, no doors left open, no windows broken, no mess, no sign that someone had taken her without resistance. The dogs didn't detect multiple trails. A stranger entering and exiting the property, on foot or by car, would have left more scent, more trail, more disturbance. It was broad daylight. 3 to 6 p.m. is not ideal for an opportunistic kidnapping, especially on a property with dogs, cameras, and multiple people present. No suspicious cars or people reported. No neighbors saw a vehicle. No known offenders in the area were tied to it. TBI never issued a suspect sketch. The second scenario was that something had happened within the family unit. This is the theory many in the online community and even law enforcement quietly lean toward, that an accident happened or someone inside knows more than they're saying. What supports this theory is the shifting timelines and vague details. Candace changed her story multiple times. The 2 minutes claim has been widely disputed. Don wasn't home, but immediately claimed abduction. No physical evidence of exit, no footprints, no scent beyond the road, no trace of Summer in nearby woods, despite thousands of search hours. Home environment was chaotic and possibly unsafe. CPS had reportedly been involved prior. Reports of substance abuse, domestic violence, and unsafe conditions at the home. Summer's last known photo, from the truck near the swimming hole, shows her slumped, pale, possibly unconscious. Don's own criminal history and erratic behavior raise serious questions. He has past charges including domestic assault, gun violations, and SA allegations. He went on bizarre YouTube live streams discussing Satan, sacrifices, and death before Summer was ever declared deceased. Then there was the delayed 911 call. If Summer went missing around 3:30 to 4, why was 911 not called until after 6 p.m.? What happened in those 2 hours? What weakens this theory is that there is still no remains discovered, no blood, no forensic evidence. If there was a cover-up, it was remarkably thorough, especially for a family that seemed uneducated and disorganized. No confession, no concrete witness. Despite heavy media pressure and scrutiny, no one cracked. That's rare in these types of cases. Law enforcement never made an arrest. The family was questioned, polygraphed, and scrutinized, but never charged. What do you think happened to Summer? With it being more than 4 years since her disappearance, do you think justice in her case ever be served?
This weekend marks 4 years since a Hawkins County girl was last seen. 5-year-old Summer Wells was reported missing from her home on Ben Hill Road in the Beach Creek community on June 15, 2021. On your left, the photo shared by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation when the Amber Alert was issued. On your right, an age-progressed photo released 2 years ago of what she may look like. News Channel 11's Angela Daniel spoke with Summer's father, Don Wells, as the 4-year mark of his daughter's disappearance approaches.
Nearly 4 years ago, 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared from her home here in Hawkins County. It's believed that she walked out of this door and hasn't been seen since. And today, there are still no answers as to where she could be.
It's 4 years too long. My thoughts and feelings haven't changed. I mean, it's been heartbreak, continual heartbreak for the past 4 years.
This very yard is one of the last places Dawn Wells' daughter Summer was known to be.
We love and miss her very much and wish that she could come home very much, because she was kind of the bossy boss around here, and we just miss our children, man. We had 4 children running around here like crazy.
The then 5-year-old has been at the center of an Amber Alert since June 15th of 2021. Crews searched the Beach Creek community for weeks, with law enforcement receiving numerous tips that never panned out.
We haven't talked to them in a long time. We let Chris and Trudy, our private detectives, deal with TBI in Hawkins County, because I don't know, anyway, it's just better that they do that.
These faded signs all throughout the Beach Creek community are a sign of hope that Summer Wells could still come home nearly 4 years after she disappeared from her home on Ben Hill Road.
It's very bad, and then when you add the social media pressure, of them saying that we're suspects or whatever, that just adds to it, and it's kind of living a nightmare.
Summer's mother, Candace, has only spoken to us on camera once. She declined to be a part of this interview minutes before we started recording.
She wanted to, but all them fears started creeping up, of what happened, in the beginning with the social media and everything, hunting us down everywhere we go, and trying to basically ruin us everywhere we go, and she's just having nightmares.
After Summer's disappearance, the Wells' 3 oldest boys were put into Department of Children's Services custody, with Dawn and Candace eventually signing their rights over.
We haven't received any updates from them, no contact, and in fact, they deleted the phone number or blocked my phone as soon as we got done with that case and signed our children over.
And still today, one word describes their entire situation.
It's heartbreaking.
In Hawkins County, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation declined to comment about the ongoing search for Summer Wells. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office didn't respond to our request. Anyone who may have information on the whereabouts of Summer Wells is asked to call the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Come along with me as I review more unsolved cases and bizarre mysteries. Like and share this for those who still believe in coincidence, and don't forget to subscribe, because the truth doesn't knock twice.